Navi's turn to ban.
Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome in, and I'm sure you're as excited as I am. We got two of the heaviest hitters in Western Dota ready to square off here in the winner's bracket of the G-1 Champions League Western Qualifier. Navi taking on Alliance. Alliance, no Tidehunter, no matter what name you think is the most memorable. One thing is for sure, Loda and company know how to win. Dating back to DreamHack winner, this is a team which has put first-place finishes under their belt in major events, including their recent land victory at Star Series 5, as well as a dominant performance in the DreamHack Invitational. Their overall record bears this fact out as well, as they've assembled an absolutely unconscious 12-3 record throughout the month of April, on the way to being considered by many to be the most feared team in the West, be it live or online. Today, though, they'll be up against an opponent they know well, and one which is coming off of their own impressive land victory. That opponent, Navi. What is there to say about Navi that hasn't been said 1,000 times before? The most consistently successful team, both online and in LAN competition, is going to be a favorite to place well, if not outright win, almost every tournament they enter, and the G1 Western Qualifier is no exception. They're 9-1 throughout the month of April and 15-5 over their last 20, and the Superstar squad is fresh off their win at the EMS Spring Final as well. Their new lineup seems to be clicking, and they're managing to get wins every way imaginable. Sometimes they get a win through creative draftings. Other times they just play grinded out, solid Dota. In short, Navi, like Alliance, simply knows how to win. Had these teams been in different sides of the bracket, they both have been favorites to reach the winner's bracket finals. And no matter who wins today, you can bet that whichever team falls to the lower bracket will still be a favorite to qualify for the finals as they battle back from the loser's side. Now, Navi is going to be playing with it. This should be a pretty quick draft, by the way, as Navi did get penalized a little bit of bonus time because Havos was apparently having some problems getting into the game. So should be coming fast and furious, but do want to touch on, of course, and, unless you've been under a rock, unless you're just brand new to Dota, the new Navi lineup is as star-studded as it gets. Puppey, Havos, Dindy, that core three, dating all the way back to their victory at the International 1 with the addition of Kuroki and Funnick, the superstars from Mouse and from Empire, respectively. Since those two have been added, there really isn't a team in the West that quite has the star power of Navi. And what's even more exciting to see, there's always this adjustment period. No matter how good of a team you have, no matter how talented your squad happens to be, you still have to adjust to what that team can do. You have to figure out what works for you. And Navi really hasn't had too much of a problem doing that. As mentioned, they've put together an impressive win of their own, or impressive streak of their own, 9-1 throughout the month of April and 15-5 in their last 20, dating back to last month as well. And that's what's really exciting. When you look at these two teams and you look at their records, they just don't lose, or if they do, they tend to lose very, very close games. And Alliance, of course, going back to Star Series, a strong team who has shown time and time again, be it there, be it a DreamHack, they know how to win on land. Navi, I mean, yeah, you could say maybe they know how to win on land, given they won $1 million a couple of years ago and came in second in the most recent International. But now with the International 3 being announced, both of these teams, I would say, I think it's pretty safe to say they're going to be straight out invited to the International, but still, they're going to want to establish their own credibility heading into this summer and looking forward to the International 3. So the picks are beginning to show themselves. We're going to have the Wisp picked up first by Alliance. They're going to grab a puck and a profit. And I'll tell you what I really like about that. That is, oh, wow, Navi's actually going to take the CK away that way. What I was going to say, what I like about Alliance, just go ahead and skipping the typical heroes you normally see picked to go with an EO pickup. Instead, yeah, and the reason I was going to say I liked it is there's so many that work well in that regard that they can bank on Navi not banning all of them out. But now with Navi taking Chaos Knight, they actually might have a chance to. If they go ahead and ban out the Tiny, they ban out the Sven, and just a back pocket pick you'll see once in a blue moon. I've seen it one time and I absolutely loved it and still want to see it again, is an Ursa plus an EO. And so, I mean, Navi can quite literally take away the best options that you usually see hooked up with an EO, and we'll see how Alliance is going to react to that. Instead, they're going for a global presence kind of an approach. The puck, the Nature's Prophet, when you've got a Prophet and an EO on the same team, they're going to be able to strain Navi at least a little bit. They're going to be able to push the boundaries and open that map up. It's a lot like the spread offense if you watch American football or what have you, or even the NBA and the way the NBA tends to be played now. Spread them out. Try to create some space. Make use of the fact that you're in control with a lineup like this, and try to exploit weaknesses that you can even shape with your own hands based on how you want to wield your lineup. Na'Vi, though, with an extremely powerful front three, and I'll tell you what I really like is Magnus plus CK. Magnus, I mean, one of CK's problems is that, I mean, he does well in the late game to a point. I mean, he's not an anti-mage. He's not a Phantom Lancer. He's never going to be. But now with Magnus there to empower him, to give him just that much more bonus damage, not only is he more potent in the early and mid game, he's actually going to continue to be a much bigger influence on the late game than he might have been otherwise. And when you look at the pure aggressive nature of the Magnus and the Batrider pickups, Na'Vi is going to have every answer they need to just start running pretty quickly as 5 and just say, you know what, we're not too worried about Nature's Prophet teleporting into Genghis. We're not going to be worried about EO +1. We're going to be just coming at you. We're going to be fighting at your towers. We're going to make you face up to us. And really, when you look at what they have so far with the Prophet and the Puck in particular, Puck's reach is great, and he can do good damage with Waning Rift. You get damage out of the Dream Coil as well, and so on and so forth. But these are 3 heroes that really do not excel at all in a 5-on-5 situation, at least until later. Prophet, to a point, can become a bit of a force just because of how quickly he farms, the global presence he can have in a number of ways, and he will eventually be able to do some right-click if he wants, or he can get up some very high-utility items like a Scythe of Ice. But Na'Vi actually bans out the Riki. So the Riki, you know, I see that pick, and I go, okay, why would they ban that Riki? I can think of a few reasons. I mean, the silence of his cloud is certainly a pain in the ass. I'm going to guess it's just maybe I missed something, but the Riki ban there tells me that I guess they were worried about Riki jumping the CK. I mean, that, and to a point that makes sense. I mean, Riki traditionally, you don't see him run very often, but when you do, it's usually in an anti-carry role. The idea that he's going to be just a force on the map. But the thing about that is you'll usually just pick a bounty hunter so you can actually have a hero that scales a little bit better. But, yeah, you know, you see that come out. The silence would certainly be crippling on Batmag or CK. I guess if he could backstab the CK, and CK's health pool is not super impressive as you get into the mid-game. He starts out doing pretty okay in that department. But then it comes down to a choice of, do you build an armlet? Do you build drums? You know, how do you want to handle that hero who normally wants to hit his peak in the mid-game? And I guess they were just worried that a Riki pick from Alliance, and I take it back. I mean, I guess potentially they didn't want to see a Riki with an EO, something like that, but... Anyway, the bans on the side of Alliance, getting rid of the team fight heroes, getting rid of the Undying and the Gyrocopter, which makes a ton of sense. I mean, either of those heroes would have been a tremendous addition to Na'Vi's lineup so far. And, you know, just giving them all the more ability to start running as 5, start pushing very, very hot and heavy early on. The less Shrek fits in with that as well. So, very cerebral drafting so far. And I'm really anxious to see what Alliance is going to pick up here. They're going to go with a Tiny. They're going to go with a Sven, maybe. Either of those heroes would work. I've never seen a Luna with an EO, but Loda is a player who does love his Luna, and that would certainly help them fight a little bit more effectively against a lineup like Na'Vi is showing us, which traditionally is going to want to fight more in the mid-game. And Luna is a really solid mid-game presence because of the power of Eclipse, especially once she hits level 11 and gets 2 points into it. The damage output of a level 1 Eclipse is not anything to shake a stick at. It's just not all that terrifying. But they're going to need something to go with the EO, and their lanes are a bit of a concern, too. I mean, you've got what you would say is your mid and your off lane, so they're still going to be looking for 2 high-tier supports. And Lena's still available. Shadow Demon is still available. I would not hate a Shadow Demon against the CK at all. Feel like that might be a direction they want to go. But in the end, it all comes down to what their game plan's going to be. And just to be honest, to use a term that my viewership has begun to know me as, right now, Na'Vi just looks more robust. And yeah, they're going to go with Alina. That's fine. Doesn't get a whole lot more stable than that. She's going to give you some solid single-target DPS, but more than anything, she's going to fit into a push-oriented kind of a lineup if that's what you want to play. And that's kind of underestimated on Lina a lot. Dragon Slave and Light Strike Array, once you get your mana pool up and you can just spam those abilities, you really can push pretty quickly. You can add a lot to a push, and you can also have some zone control using the Dragon Slave to just spam some damage out when you're trying to set up a siege of a tower. You can do some free damage with it. It's basically like a less powerful, less ranged Illuminate in a lot of ways. So Jakiro going to be the next pickup from Na'Vi, another really solid early team fight hero. And that's what really jumps out when you look at Na'Vi's current lineup. They've picked heroes that want to fight early. I mean, Jakiro is an excellent support. He's kind of waned a bit in his popularity for a while there. And, this is going back a few months, but he was first pick, first ban kind of caliber. He was just valued that highly. There was a slight nerf to his ice path that brought the level 1 damage down, which I feel like was a big effect, or had a big effect on the way he felt in lane, and that's why a lot of teams started moving in other directions. They wanted heroes with a bit more utility, as opposed to a hero that, for the time, was known to have a really good disable at level 1, but also did a decent chunk of damage. I mean, 1 point in ice path and it did 100 damage was really strong in early laning phases. So Alliance is going to go ahead and grab up their Sven, so you can already see what they're going to be looking to do. Sven, Io, and Lena. Throw out the Stormhammer with Sven since it's a focused target attack, then allow Lena to follow up with the Light Strike Array in here and her combination. Then you'll be able to use the EO to chain stun as well. But the bad thing about a Sven, as good as the hero can be in a variety of situations, is that he is yet another hero that is not... He's a little thin early. I mean, he can do damage. He's a hero that can be played as a support or as a carry. He'll definitely be in the carry role this time. In fact, it'll probably be loaded playing on him. But if Navi's able to take the fight to Alliance quickly enough and take Sven out of his comfort zone, don't allow him to farm, make him try to defend, and then get a win or two. This is the kind of lineup that Alliance is running that has a lot of utility and can really abuse Na'Vi, but Navi's 5-on-5 teamfight is so good that there's really just no reason for them to do anything but run as 5 once the game really gets underway, once we see the laning phase begin to break down a bit. And yeah, they're going to go ahead and give themselves a safety valve with the Faceless Void as well. Now, I'm really interested to see, well, one, looks like we're going to have a remake for some reason, as both teams are beginning to disconnect, so I'll go ahead and pop us back up to the front. But the Faceless Void pick, I want to see how they're going to lane this. I mean, Magnus can play a lane support, but then, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, really. But while we do, go ahead and bring some music on back up as we get the old game remade. Once again, Game 1 of this best-of-3 series between Alliance and Na'Vi going to be on the way next. Stick with us, guys. You're here on One More Game TV2. We'll be right back.
Prepare for battle.
And we're back, and I'm not gonna lie, this is a little bizarre to me. We apparently had to remake because Na'Vi picked the wrong hero. Just picked the wrong hero. Didn't mean to pick CK, meant to pick a Rubik, apparently. And I mean, if both teams are fine with it, I'm okay with it. It's not gonna bother me any. But that is bizarre, because if Alliance drafted at all with the idea of a CK being a part of the enemy team, then I'm going to guess they communicated or something, because nobody seems to really care. But yeah, so the CK not going to be a part of this. This lineup makes a ton more sense now. I mean, it's not hard to understand what Na'Vi's going to be up to. I was wondering where they were going to put the mag and what they were going to be looking to do so far as farming and so forth with a CK and no other hard lane support, but I would say it's pretty obvious now. We're going to have a tri-lane of a Jakiro plus a Void, as well as a Jakiro Void and Rubik with Mag mid and Bat off lane, or vice versa. Either way. Funix on the Bat, so yeah, most likely will be the Bat off lane. But for Alliance, I mean, pretty clear cut as well. Likely to have our defensive tri-lane trying to get Finn his farm with the Nature's Prophet handled by the Bulldog. And Puck in mid. So how about we just run through our lineup, see who's handling who here in mid. It's going to be S4 playing on our Puck. Lina will be handled by Ake. Sven, as anticipated, going to be handled by Loda. Wisp going to be played by EGM. And Admiral Bulldog going to be handling our Nature's Prophet on the other side of the river. We've got Puppy playing on our Jakiro. Faceless Void going to be handled by Havos. Magnus going to be played by Dindy. He's actually got his eye right next to Ake. And there we go. They're going to go for something here. They've got him down to half health, and Dindy might be in trouble. Uses the skewer. And the Ice Path caught 3. S4's now in trouble. He's going to be our first blood. What a shot from Puppy. The perfect Ice Path. Could not have asked for better. They lined up just right. And Puppy turns a situation that looked to be almost an assured first blood. If not an assured first blood, then a really bad start for Dindy. He turns it into an excellent start for Na'Vi. And right out the gate, Na'Vi comes out swinging hard, and S4, very cute with his phase shift, manages to dodge that Ice Path. But for the moment, Puppy's going to be hanging out here. But yeah, let's go ahead and run through the rest of our lineups. Puppy, who got me excited already, playing on our Jakiro Void, handled by Havos. Mag going to be played by Dindy. Kuroki, no surprise to see him on Rubik, and that's always exciting, by the way. If you're new to Dota, or you're new to the competitive scene, and you like Rubik, then you're gonna like Kuro. Kuro is one of the best Rubik players on the face of the planet. Funnick, getting cute with his jungling here already. I really like the choice to sit in the bad end of the jungle instead of into the off lane. But taking a look at our, yeah, I mean, this is no surprise. Bulldog's going to sack his off lane as well. So this is going to be just a total free farm fest at the moment for both teams. So what's going to be important to watch other than the mid lane, which is where most of the contesting is going to be? We're likely to see a decent number of gank attempts, as we already saw blow up in the face of Alliance there. And Puppy is spending a lot of time there right now. No reason for him not to. I mean, other than the fact he is going to be a little under-leveled, he should be able to still soak some experience so long as he and Dinding communicate well as to when they want to be near each other, or when they want Puppy to be soaking experience out of mid. Yeah, I mean, level 2, level 4 on Mag already. He's in great shape. S4 is actually, due to that death, quite far behind at level 3. And with Wisp and Lina splitting pull experience, everything should be all quiet for quite some time. Loda does have a decent amount of gold already in his back pocket. He's got 15, just about 1,400 saved up. So he'll be able to look to pick up a set of treads very soon, if such is his desire. But what we're going to be wanting to watch for is going to be how these carries build. And, you know, Void in particular, and I talked to Fear a bit about this whenever we had him on for the broadcast yesterday, is Void is more so than most heroes, is a hero that's very much played to personal preference. I mean, every player has their preferences in how to handle a hero, what sort of item builds they prefer based on their team needs and so forth. And Havost, I've seen him do a little bit of everything. I've seen him rush Midas, I've seen him do Mask of Madness first, I've seen him even go for early Maelstrom into Mjolnir. So that's going to be wide open, but what's really going to be important is whether the Midas comes out or not. Don't know that he'll get it, don't know that he will or he won't. He's got 1,200 gold banked up right now. Another hero or player who loves Midas is Loda. And let's see what he's got on it. Yep, that's going to be a hand of Midas. So Loda is going to be looking to go late game, which is a good call against a Void. I mean, if you're going to be taking on a Void, a completely over-farmed and fat Sven is just ridiculous to deal with. In fact, Speaking of fear, we saw that in his series against Team Liquid. And he had arguably the fattest Finn I think I've ever seen. When he was empowered, he had a DD. Hang on, Dindy. Taking some damage. Not going to be any follow-up, though. Whenever he was empowered, he had a double damage. He had God Strength popped, etc. He was basically hitting for 1,000 damage per swing of the sword, not including potential crits because he had a Daedalus. So, I mean, Finn is one of those heroes that absolutely will just be a one-man wrecking crew, more so than most other heroes can be. But Void, by virtue of his passives, is another hero that many consider to be as potent as any when you get to the late game. And Havost, again, hasn't really showed us much of anything so far in terms of his item build. He's got 1,600 gold. He may just one-shot by the Midas, and at this point they're going to know that Loda has his. So Loda with a Midas up very quickly. Now the question becomes, how do you build? Armlet tends to be a choice that you'll see on Sven players who want to have a bit more mid-game punching power and want to fight a little bit earlier. But really looking at Navi's lineup, I feel like Navi's lineup is going to be the lineup that wants to fight a lot more often and fight early on. But, you know, again, with the Void, there's just no way to tell. Void is one of those heroes. He is kind of weird. He's not exactly like an Animage. Animage struggles to fight at all, and we just see the treads picked up on Havost, so nothing untoward so far. And that could be an indication that he is going to want to be a little bit more active early on compared to most other heroes, or most other players who would play the hero. But Void is one of those heroes who can start to contribute to team fights at level 6 just because of the strength of Chronosphere, even if that's all he does. And you'll oftentimes see professional Voids do that, especially when they're in a lineup that is as aggression-oriented as Navi's is. You'll see them occasionally just show up to a fight, drop a Chronosphere, try to do some damage, time walk away, and then just go farm while the rest of the team fights it out. And that's perfectly okay. And with the lineup they have, though, he doesn't even have to do that. The power, you know, Empower from Dindy is going to give him a lot more viability in terms of damage output, especially if he goes an item like a Mask of Madness, where he can just burst and then run, following a Chronosphere. We are going to see a bit more movement now out of Na'Vi. They were grouping up momentarily, but all seems quiet, at least for the moment. And just heard Wisp hook up, yep. Pick it back up with S4. Still no real movement outside of the first blood we saw in mid. Dindy with his bottle, and not a whole lot else. Taking a look at Funnick. Looks like he's on his way to his Tranquil Boots. Now, the thing about a Jungle Bad Rider is he does tend to start out relatively slow. His levels are actually okay. And we're going to see a coil used on Puppey. That's going to prompt a reaction. TP's coming. Ice Path buys him some time. The damage is there. They're going to be able to clean him up with the Furion ulti. And now Dindy's going to go ahead and spend an RP. And that's going to knock S4 back. Good fire or flame break from Funnick. Knocked him back into the range of the tower. So they end up going 1 for 1. Not a bad exchange for Na'Vi, given Puppey was caught out and more or less dead to rights. Did cost him an RP, but hey, this stage of the game, you got Bottle, you got Mana Boots, you're in pretty good shape and certainly well worth it to get a return kill. Back to Loda. The way he builds is going to be, I mean, he'll probably, yeah, treads is no surprise at all. But after that is when things become interesting. Armlet is a much more situational item on a Sven. Let's see what did Devotion just pick up. Okay, still just sitting on regular items so far. But it is an item that can give you a lot of punching power early. There's also drums. Very, very stable on a Sven. Gives you a bit more mana if you want to fight early. Tanks you up a bit more. I mean, the stat gain on that item always makes it worthwhile. It's a relatively small investment, easy to build into. He's not being pressured at all, so we'll see. You know, and usually when you're in a situation like this where you're not being pressured at all is when you're going to feel a lot more comfortable trying to build towards a big item early. And Sven is also a hero who can benefit a lot from a Mask of Madness. BKB, though, really the most important item for Loda. The only problem with that is there are 2 disables that go through BKB for Na'Vi. And if they, especially if they chain them together, if they're able to chain together an RP and a lasso, they can just take Loda completely out of any fight if their communication is there. And to be honest, the initiation outside of Puck is just not nearly as potent for Alliance. Like Alliance with, you know, with their lineup, especially, you know, and I talked a bit about it, it's just not as robust a lineup early on. Furion's going to find his farm, and if the game goes late enough, he will become a force. And that might just be the plan. They're just going to bank on a later finish to this game and try to play defensive while Na'Vi's going to try to get a lot out of their punching power early. And Funnick's going to find S4, going to bring him right back. Ice Path to follow it up, and that's as beautiful a chain of initiation as you're ever going to see. Bringing a Puck down at this level, 8.5 minutes in. And now they're going to find Ake. Ake caught napping in the woods, and he's going to be punished in the worst way. Remember that word I used, robust? You think They're a little robust with the amount of damage output they have just with those heroes. Loda has popped his God Strength and is now beginning to go to work on the top tower. The good news as well for Na'Vi, though, not only is Havos finding his farm, but he's actually going to get a Maelstrom, which is totally fine. I actually like that a lot. It's a nice middle-of-the-road item on him. You know, instead of going Midas and going all in on the late game, or instead of going Mask of Madness, and the thing about Mask of Madness, if you get that as a first item on a Void, is like, yeah, especially with Empower, you can show up and you can Chronosphere and then use your Mask of Madness and you're going to do some damage, but you better hope you kill everyone. You better hope that there's no one still standing, because you're going to have no health and you're going to die immediately, especially if you time walked in and don't have it off cooldown to get out of trouble. But Maelstrom, a relatively cheap alternative, gives them some pushing power, gives them some fighting power, and it does build into a Mjolnir, of course, later on if he wants to transition to that. But so far, Na'Vi is just looking good. I was asked by the viewership my predictions for this series. I'll go ahead and voice them here as well. Go on the record, so to speak. This is going to be one of those series that is either a knockdown, drag-out fight that goes 3 games and takes 4 hours, or this is going to be a game where it's 2-0 for one team or the other. I'm not even sure who. It's going to be 2-0. It's either going to be that or it's going to be 2-0 for one team or the other, and it's going to be 2 relative stomps. That's my prediction. That tends to be how these teams play. Both of these teams love momentum. They know how to roll up a Game 1 win into an impressive Game 2. They also, both teams do have some resiliency. So that's why I say it's either going to be go 3 games and be an epic series, or it's going to be one team running over the other in 2 straight games. It's not going to be like, oh, well, it was a 2-0, but it was close. You know, either team could have won either game. I don't think it'll be that way. So far, Na'Vi off to a fantastic start. Loda looks to be getting a set of drums. He's got a bracer in the inventory. Earn already up on the Wisp. Taking a look at Ake. Not a whole lot to report still. Running around in his broke brown brutes. S4 also struggling quite a bit, and that's not something you want to have happen. You cannot afford to have Dindy's Magnus get a good start, especially if you're a puck, who should, for all intents and purposes, be able to do okay against him. Taking a look at Kuro, and this is, again, the guy to watch here. And there's some good abilities for him to steal. Warcry is actually one of the best if he can get it, just to help his team against Fen with the cleave damage and with the physical damage. And so far, though, we can see, and this is kind of what I was talking about, or I alluded to. Both of these teams know how to make use of momentum, and if there's any weakness I could lay on either of them, it's not, you know, they can play from behind. Up, hang on. TP to top, and yep, they're going to go for it on the Bad Rider. Good stun, just in range of auto attacks. No, one more from the Prophet Bulldog, who has a Midas of his own, got the job done with 1 long-range auto attack. Another high-value kill, but this time going to Alliance. And I like this a lot, by the way. This is something that a lot of teams, and Alina actually just got a solo kill on Kuroki. I guess she just blew him up. Yeah, blew him up with his ult. No, she didn't even use her ult. Wow. But one mistake that you see a lot of teams make is they'll wait maybe a little bit too long to start putting EO to use with his relocate. Not the case there. And being able to pick off a bat especially. Delay his Blink Dagger a bit. He's a hero that should feel safe and be tough to kill in most circumstances. But as it stands, Loda just going to work on this top tier 1. Looks like he's going to get it for free. And he will. He's got his drums up, got his treads up, so he's looking really good. Dindy, though, has his own Blink Dagger, arguably the biggest playmaker in Dota. Little pressure put on by Void. Now, he's going to pull back. He should have his Chronosphere. He does. And now we're going to see Ake picked off for free. Wrong place at the wrong time. And, yeah, wisely, Loda and S4 turn and start to run. They're going to use the Warcry. Dindy might be able to catch him, though. His Blink Dagger's off cooldown in 1 second. And there it is. Whoa, good phase shift from S4. They're going to get Loda regardless. By all rights, he should have had both. I'll tell you what, man. S4's reflexes are insane. And now the Chronosphere, though, going to follow up on EGM. He's going to drop. S4 uses his silence, gets 1 kill on Rubik, and will be able to ethereal jaunt his way to safety. But a couple of really good kills going the way of Na'Vi, and they should be able to take a tier 1 bottom, one would think. Actually, no, they're just going to take over the jungle. Not putting a lot of emphasis on that right now, as Dindy reacts to mid to keep that tower still standing. But want to give this, not him. Sorry, Bulldog, you're awesome. Where are you, S4? Not you. You. S4 Fastest fingers in the West, man. Ask his girlfriend. But, Tish. But, yeah. I mean, that was super, super good on the phase shift, and it kept him alive. We're 14 minutes in, 4-7. 11 kills on the board, 7 belonging to Na'Vi. Let's take a look at the gold graph. We can see still very tight match. Less than 500 gold in favor of Alliance right now. The experience somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000. And the late game showdown, though, you got to give Na'Vi the advantage. They just have so many ways to initiate, even with a BKB up on Loda. And again, but just between RP and Lasso alone, those two abilities, if chained together correctly, can take Loda completely out of a fight. And you're going to have reliable physical damage in the Void if he gets his items up. Not to mention a Chronosphere. And other than Loda, the damage output is middling at best by design. I mean, they're not going to get a whole lot out of the Wisp. I mean, his orbs are going to do damage whenever he pulls them in tight and is able to get right on somebody. Lena has single target burst, but that's all going to be mitigated by bigger health pools and more items. Then you've got the Prophet, who will give you some right-click if you build him that way, but usually you just want to have a bit more utility out of him. We'll keep an eye on what he wants to build. He's got 2,800 gold in the bank. A mech, well, see, the thing is, mech might not even be the best investment for them if they're not planning to 5-man anytime soon. He may just want to build towards his Scythe of Ice and just have that up quicker. Loda is going to go with his BKB, or go for his BKB. And that's a fortuitous haste rune for Dindy. And this could be unfortunate. Loda is going to start to withdraw, but he's going to be walking right past the haste to Dindy. Here we go. Spotted out. Wisp is right there, and Dindy's right on his tail. And he's going to go ahead and spin to stun. Dindy's going to have to do something quick. There's a stolen Stormhammer used back on Loda, and the relocate gets him back to safety. So Na'Vi, unable to get the job done. EGM's dead to rights. Loda says goodbye to his buddy one last time. And we'll be seeing you back in the well in just a moment, EGM. No good deed goes unpunished. And that's a killing spree for Puppey. In the meantime, no pressure being applied to the Tier 1 mid. We're going to see a TP reaction. That's going to be Havost, and oh, he got him with a Chronosphere. And yeah, that Maelstrom letting him do plenty of damage. Shockwave from Dindy didn't hurt either. There's a coil, though, going to lock them both down. In the meantime, a tower does drop. And Kuro showing off his Stormhammer skills. Loda, in the meantime, though, does manage to take down another tower. He went ahead and bought a Black King Bar recipe. He will have his BKB up at about 500 gold once he gets enough for his Mithril Hammer. Bulldog has gone Shadowblade. So, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But it does mean they're lacking some really important items, and they're going to be delayed on some very important items. Furion, usually the hero that you want to get a mech up if you don't have someone else dedicated to it. And so far, yeah, no one's even started on one. Yeah, even the Wisp getting an urn. But again, that's okay, because I don't know that they want a 5-man right now, and mech is much more of a 5-man investment than it is into a split push, spread the map kind of an investment. But going with the Shadowblade above anything else means Bulldog needs to be a bit more active. He's going to have to be a part of every single engagement, make use of his global presence, and make use of that Shadowblade to justify the investment. Rubik loves his... I'm pretty sure... Was that him or was that Loda? That might have been Loda. Yeah, it was Loda. I was going to say... Kuro loves his Stormhammer, but that was actually Loda. It's a fun ability to use, has a very satisfying crack to it. But as we can see, what Na'Vi's doing, this is the way that you beat a Wisp lineup. If you watch the Chinese scene, this is one reason they don't value the hero nearly as much. Is all you have to do is draft a lineup that you feel comfortable going late with, and then just run as 5. And to tell you the truth, I feel like Na'Vi actually took it to another extreme. They didn't just draft a lineup that they can feel comfortable going late with. They picked a lineup that hard counters, in many ways, the hero that Loda's farming. He's got his BKB done. But after 2 uses, the BKB duration will not be as long as Lasso plus the... as Lasso plus the reverse polarity. So, that's not going to be as reliable for him unless they get the jump on him. But the way Na'Vi's playing this out, and Loda is going to get a nice infusion of gold here. This is one of the excellent things about Sven. And you want to get a Sven ahead and make him just absolutely gigantic. This is how you do it. You just have your supports dedicated almost full time to making sure that those ancient caps are stacked. And now Avos actually picked up another Mithril Hammer. So we'll see what he wants to do. But for now,
Radiant's bottom tower
we've quieted out a bit. Na'Vi is going to get a free tier 1 tower. Will be completely and utterly uncontested.
Radiant's bottom tower has
But with Empower, we can already see. Empower plus Maelstrom, he's hitting hard. And that's just a beautiful, beautiful synergy between those heroes. To be honest, I feel like Na'Vi just has a better draft here. Not to say that Alliance can't win or that they were totally just blown out of the water. It's not that at all. It's just anytime, you know, as a broadcaster, you look at the teams, you try to talk about good things and bad things for both. And I look at Alliance's lineup, and I could talk about some good things, but I feel like every good thing I bring up, Na'Vi's got an answer for. And that's just, and whenever you see that, that's a sign of good drafting. That's all that is. But you can never underestimate the power of a big, fat Sven. Na'Vi going to work on the big boy down in the Roche pit. And looks like they might have a chance to get this uncontested. The only real vision that they have in the vicinity, don't think would have been enough to indicate this was up. But yeah, we are going to see Puck go for it. Oh, good! Coil! Got 4! S4 is in trouble, but the Chronosphere goes down. Loda wasting a lot of BKB time there. Havos had just finished his BKB. Na'Vi going to skewer and get AGM, and now spends the RP. Caught too, and may have bought enough time. Nope, not for himself. But a couple do manage to get away. What a coil out of S4. My goodness. He's the one that ended up dead there. It's going to win the Mirage most likely. But that coil, and where they hit it too, as grouped up a spot as they possibly could right here near these stairs. Got everyone as they tried to bail out. And that's a nice turnaround for Alliance. I didn't even think they knew what was going on, but if they didn't, they certainly did. They did there. Or they did, they reacted as if they did, I should say. And now we're going to see Bulldog making his way towards the Scythe of Ice, as one would have expected. 21 minutes in, the gold still very much in favor of Alliance right now. So is the experience. So Na'Vi definitely taking a hit there. And with an Aegis now on Loda, Loda's free to just farm and feel very safe. I mean, he's going to have an Aegis to rely on. He's going to have a Mask of Madness up soon. He's already got his Morbid Mask complete. And for the Void, got the Mithril Hammer on his way to a BKB. There's nothing wrong with that. But really, sometime soon, Alliance is going to have to just feel comfortable starting to Ghost 5. And Na'Vi, I still feel like, has a great lineup to deal with that. But they certainly can't get caught out like they were in the Roche pit. That was just a disaster. And Ake gonna be lassoed, pulled back, and Kuro managed to get Light Strike Array. Not a bad spell to have. In the meantime, Puck manages to deny a tower. And now we'll see if they want to do something off of it. Bulldog is split pushing bottom, putting some pressure onto the tier 2. Back to old Loda. Got 2,300 gold in the bank. And he might... Oh, there's a coil that caught no one. It's a good effort, but the blink a little too quick on Phonic. And really, what I'm waiting to see is what Kuro's going to grab next. Kuro does love his mobility builds on a Rubik. He just hasn't had really the gold to afford it. He is definitely a Blink Dagger on Rubik kind of a guy. And he knows how to make it work for him. He's one of the best you'll see whenever he does get his hands on that. 22 minutes in, 18 kills on the board, 11 belong to Na'Vi, but the gold and the experience very much in favor of Alliance. We're beginning to see that level off a little bit. And what it's going to come down to is just how confident Na'Vi feels about Void versus Sven. Again, between the lasso and between the lasso and the RP, they've got the ability to lock him down basically indefinitely. And Havost, just by virtue of time lock, can be relied upon with enough attack speed to lock him down as well, regardless of anything else. But do you really want to go all in on that? Or do you want to make something happen sooner rather than later? Still very early on in this game. And both teams in relatively good shape, I feel. But obviously, Alliance with the slight edge. And we're going to see a rather quick Scythe of Ice coming out of Bulldog, which is really important. Being able to... And you know, a quick Scythe of Ice on a Furion can absolutely turn a fight around. Just getting one high priority target who's a little slow to their BKB, getting Magnus before you can RP if you see him winding up and you're able to interrupt anything like that is enough to just completely disjoint Na'Vi's entire game plan. Back to Avos. He's got 3,000 gold in the bank as well. We'll switch to our net worth tab. We can see Sven and Furion near the top. Sven is atop the board. And Loda's got an eye on Avos. He's going to go ahead and spin a Stormhammer. A little free damage done, but we can just see 2,000 health for Loda compared to the 1,300 on the Void. That's going to prompt an immediate reaction as they suspect Alliance was looking to make something happen in the jungle. They're going to walk right across the sentry ward. We can see immediately pinged out. And Na'Vi spotted out. They may still want to fight this. And yeah, there's Loda. And he does manage to pop it. Here comes Funnick looking for a target. Can they get him? And he's going to go ahead and BKB, open up on Kuroki. Another good coil caught too. Kuroki going to be completely blown up. There goes the Chronosphere, but Bulldog's just right-clicking into death. Got time locked, but I don't know that it's going to matter. And we're just going to see him force the time walk away. I heard Laguna Blade go off, and it looks like he blew somebody up. In the meantime, Havost being pursued out and killed off with a Stormhammer, and Alliance is just making it look easy. And really where everything fell apart here for Na'Vi, the gold and the experience was in favor of Alliance to begin with, but I still really like Na'Vi's ability to shut him down, but their initiation chain has just been horrendous. And a big part of that is, of course, S4's play. S4's played some really good Dota here in Game 1. He's been able to land very high priority coils. His silences have been on the money. Mag didn't even get a chance to RP, which is rare once he gets a Blink Dagger. And they're going to go ahead and back out. And, you know, talking to Loda, every time I see them do this, it makes me smile because, you know, we had Loda on for a few casts a while ago. He's a good friend of mine. And, you know, I asked him once in an interview. It was a Q&A session during the D2L. I asked him how he, you know, what he thought the biggest weakness of his team was. And his response was, you know, sometimes we get a little too greedy and hang around. Basically, they overstay their welcome. They get a kill or they win a fight. Then they go, okay, let's go get a tier 3, even if we can't get the racks. And they end up feeding 4 or 5 kills back because of it. And right there, we saw the shot caller for Alliance definitely saying, you know what? We want to fight. How about we just back and not worry about the tier 3? And as a result, things stabilize and they come out winners. 10,000 gold their advantage right now. Experience is about 12,000. And Loda, large and in charge, with an Assault Cuirass and his inventory. Didn't even finish out the Mask of Madness, which is fine too. And he is just hitting so hard. The guy's farm is going to be insane soon enough. And Na'Vi, and this is where things start to hurt. And why some teams still really do believe Wisp, you know, regardless of how well the Chinese handle or what have you. They still feel like Wisp is deserving of a first pick, first ban. Is if you can get a Wisp lineup ahead of an enemy lineup that's running as 5, it's really hard for them to ever come back because they do have to stick together so often. We're going to see Bulldog hook up with Loda and EGM as they just blow up a Faceless Void. And yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It's like they don't want to run as 5, but they have to, and now we're going to have Funny engaged upon. Dindy's going to be stunned out. There's an Ice Path. Loda being dragged back, but all he did was set it up. And Dindy going to spin the RP, but no damage is being done. He skewers across the chasm looking for safety. But we're going to hear a coil go off. They're going to get another kill. Loda is just an absolute wrecking crew at this point. Dindy, woohoo, barely able to make it away before the orbs are enough to get him put into a body bag. Alliance in utter control of this game now. And yeah, kind of proving the point. You spread out, or you try to play gank Dota. Unless you're getting Loda immediately, there's going to be reactions. They're going to be able to take a fight. And your other option is just to turtle and run as 5, but at that point, you're ceding map control. You're ceding the ability to ever farm your Void. Or at least farm him to max efficiency. And this is just becoming a rout, to be honest. And again, I reiterate my prediction. Said it a while ago. This will either be, you know, let's say that Alliance wins. Then Na'Vi will take a win in Game 2. And then we'll have a crazy Game 3. It'll be either that, or it's going to be a 2-0 stop. It's going to be one or the other. As it is, kill score is close. The gold score and the experience score, not quite. We take a look at the levels. Level 20 for Sven, level 18 for that Prophet. Void is level 16, Mag 14, so on and so forth. But we can see the supports of Na'Vi definitely hurting in that department. Net worth, top 2, belong to Loda and Company. Just about 20,000 net worth for Loda now. Next closest is Profit at 15, and Poor Void almost being doubled up at this point. And, you know, Na'Vi, again, they have such a really strong lineup. I just don't feel like they've really put it through its paces. And, you know, they've been ganked down, and it's been some good play on the side of Alliance. But their ability to execute and take objectives has been a little suspect. Coming up on 30 minutes in, still potentially a lot of Dota to be played, though Loda does now have 4,000 gold. And we'll be able to one-shot buy a damn Daedalus before long. Honestly, at this point, he may as well just get himself a butterfly if he wants. He can get anything he wants. Yeah, he is going to one-shot buy a Daedalus. He's already picked up the recipe. And, yep, going to work. Up at top, Havost doing what damage he can down here. They're going to try and find a target. S4 is going to be able to make it away. And yeah, they're just going to trade tier 3 for tier 2. I don't math so good, but pretty sure that's not what you want most times, especially whenever you're not even going to get the tier 2. And we're going to hear, I just heard Bulldog land. Yep, he's under Shadow Blade. They're going to TP out immediately, though. So Bulldog unable to do anything there. So they get a free tier 3, and Na'Vi left wanting at the tier 2. Jimatru's sight's on the ground. We'll see who's going to end up picking that bad boy up. And they just went for a gank, actually. EGM will end up cleaned up. He actually didn't go for a gank, I'm going to guess. I'm not sure what the plan was there, actually. But this game continues to look to be alliances to win or to lose. 20,000 experience in their favor, 15,000 gold. Take a look at our mag. He got himself a set of drums, opting not to get the magic immunity. And it is going to be a butterfly pickup on the Void, as he has added the Eagle Song to his inventory. About as good an answer as you're going to find to his Finn. Shakiro, still in search of that mech, has the headdress at the very least. Bad Rider has picked up a 4-staff. I mean, so they're not completely anemic here. You know, they've got some items. And for it to be 30 and how far behind they are by most of the graphs, they're not in bad shape. But when you have Bulldog with 4,500 gold in the bank, Loda just bought a Daedalus if he... Yeah, I mean, he basically can if he wants. And Na'Vi gonna look to make something happen with a smoke. They're gonna move across mid. And try to find somebody. Havost is up front. It's gonna be S4 that spots them out. So the dust is popped. And this is unfortunate. They're gonna go ahead and cut through the jungle towards an area completely unoccupied. So a smoke not accomplishing much of anything. And all this time, Loda continues to farm. He's actually gone heart. He picked up the recipe for Daedalus and thought better of it, got a heart. So Na'Vi was retreating now. However, Alliance now with a smoke of their own. And if they can get Havost in this lane, oh, this could be horrendous. Oh, Havost. You feel safe, you're not. And Bulldog. Yep. That's a dead Havost. That's probably GG, to be honest. Without him, they can't fight at all. Funnick taking a little bit of damage, but yeah. I mean, he buys back, which is something he couldn't afford to do anyway. And now they're going to have the re-engagement. Havost is going to be able to bang down Ake, but he is going to be stunned. Now he's sprouted in. And now here comes Dad. You wait till your father... He actually got blocked by the tree. It's good RP there. And Loda, though, is just so tanky. They just can't do any damage at all. And there's a Storm Hammer. Poor puppy. And, okay. Just basically playing hopscotch, getting another kill, killing off the Void. And GGs do come out. Alliance, with a lineup that looked a little thin in the beginning. Shows they're nothing but. It shows that carries Finn is not something you should write off. Phenomenal performance. And remember, I called it, and this is my official prediction. Alliance stomped for all intents and purposes here in game number 1. Game 2 will either be a stomp for Na'Vi, and we'll have a crazy game 3. Or Alliance. Well, I guess, never mind. If I keep backtracking, my prediction is that with Alliance having won here, Na'Vi's going to struggle to bounce back. Alliance just knows how to capitalize so well on situations like this. However, Na'Vi, a team that should never be counted out. They've showed us that time and time again. And they're going to be looking to get things back on track quick, fast, and in a hurry as we head forward to Game 2 of this best of 3. Alliance taking on Na'Vi in this winner's bracket showdown. 33 minutes, 55 seconds. The official game time, 18-14, the final kill score. But man, those graphs, the lead was a bit more than the scoreboard would indicate. I'm AC, you're here on One More Game TV2. Hope you guys are having as much fun as I am. Make sure you stick around. Game 2 of this best of 3 is on the way next.